Good evening. You are tuned in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. Pakatan Harapan is likely to retain the Kuala Kubu Bharu seat in tomorrow's by-election, according to Ilham Centre. In its latest survey, the think tank says voter sentiment had remained largely unchanged since the state elections last August.
Ilham Centre played down the effectiveness of Perikatan Nasional's campaign, which focused on identity politics. It said a hardline campaign that focused on race and religion had reached saturation point and was not effective in a mixed ethnic seat in Selangor. It added that voters in the state responded differently from Malay majority voters in Kedah, Terengganu or Kelantan. Ilham Centre also suggested that while some Malay voters may have shown support for Perikatan, 74% of voters were still satisfied with the Selangor government's performance, with 70.8% supporting Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Amiruddin Syari and 63% supporting the late KKB Assemblyman Lee Ki Hyong.
1MDB and 10 others have filed a $346 million lawsuit against Datin Sri Rosmah Mansor and another individual for allegedly receiving luxury goods bought with embezzled funds. The writ of summons was filed at the Kuala Lumpur High Court on Thursday, naming her as defendant along with Shabnam Narindas Daswani. 1MDB and other plaintiffs claimed that the duo had allegedly bought jewellery, watches and handbags with funds misappropriated from Malaysia's Sovereign Wealth Fund. They added that the funds were allegedly channeled through various offshore entities before being paid out to 48 different vendors in no less than 14 jurisdictions for the purchase of the luxury goods. They alleged that a total of 320 payments were made, totaling more than $346 million. The plaintiffs also seek for the civil court to order Rosmah and the other defendant to pay damages or equitable compensation for an account of profits, exemplary or aggravated damages, interest and costs. The government will offer continued care for individuals who suffer side effects from COVID-19 vaccines, including those from AstraZeneca. Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad says the government has data on adverse events following immunization caused by COVID-19 vaccines and has methods in place to treat side effects. He added that the government would also be responsible for recipients of other vaccines who have had adverse reactions. AstraZeneca recently withdrew its COVID-19 vaccine worldwide after admitting in court documents that the vaccine causes side effects such as blood clots and low blood platelet counts in more than 1 in 10 people. Students enrolled in higher education institutions will soon gain access to existing information and research findings from various ministries and government agencies. This initiative, set to roll out within the next 2 weeks, forms a crucial part of the government's strategy to bolster AI technology within the country.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the initiative will be coordinated by the Science, Technology and Innovation Ministry.
Selaraskan supaya kita tahu exactly kalau kita nak pinjaman ini dia, kalau kita nak maklumat begini ini dia. I think simple format pamphlet yang kita akan sampaikan. Bagi kita 2 minggu semua universiti akan terima. Siapa koordinat? Likang ataupun okey. Menteri Likang ada, dia koordinat 2 minggu saya bagi. 2 minggu siap untuk semua badan-badan research dan juga yang terlibat interministry dan akan disampaikan ke semua universiti, okey?
Anwar said this during the Temu Anwar session as part of the Malaysia Artificial Intelligence Nexus 2024 program in Kuala Lumpur.
The Kuala Lumpur Central Station redevelopment project will begin later this year. Transport Minister Anthony Loke says the station will be upgraded to be more modern, efficient and better connected to the surrounding areas.
The improvements include upgrading, redesigning, repurposing and rebuilding. It would also include connecting all the buildings to improve public mobility and access. Lok said his ministry would work with the Malaysian Resources Corporation on the project, with a budget of 1 billion ringgit. He added that the project had received cabinet approval in August last year under the Public-Private Partnership Initiative.
Dewan Negara President Dato' Mutang Tagal has died at the age of 69. He passed away at the National Heart Institute in Kuala Lumpur, where he was taken for treatment after returning from a working trip to Azerbaijan.
Mutang had fallen ill in Azerbaijan and returned to Malaysia on May 6 for treatment. He was the first indigenous Sarawakian to be appointed president of the Dewan Negara. The Sarawak Legislative Assembly today observed a minute's silence for the late Senate President. A lawyer by training, Mutang served 2 terms as Bukit Mas MP from 1982 to 1990. He is survived by his wife, Datin Ho Mei Ling, and 3 children.
We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Sarawak disasar menjadi negeri pengeksport padi menjelang tahun 2030. Sekitar 200 penduduk kampung hampalan singgah mata Pulau Bumbum sempurna menerima bantuan pemeriksaan kesihatan secara percuma. Seterusnya, Kerajaan Sarawak menyasarkan ekspor pertama gas hidrogen pada tahun 2027.
Sabah Electricity Sdn Bhd SESB mempertukar lebih RM500,000 untuk melaksanakan projek bantuan mesra rakyat BMR.
Welcome back. Spain, Ireland and other European Union member countries plan to recognise a Palestinian state on May 21st. EU's Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said this ahead of an expected United Nations vote today on a Palestinian bid for full membership. The 2 countries, along with Slovenia and Malta, had agreed in March to take the first steps towards jointly recognising a Palestinian state alongside Israel. They see a 2-state solution as essential for lasting peace in the region. But Israel has said that plans for Palestinian recognition are a price for terrorism that would reduce the chances of a resolution to the Gaza conflict. Meanwhile, the draft resolution to be voted on later today at the UN General Assembly will give Palestinians some additional rights and privileges from September 2024. The United States vetoed the widely supported Council resolution on April 18th. The Palestinians are currently a non-member observer state, a status granted in 2012. Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed that Israel can stand alone and fight on in defiance of threats from Washington to further restrict arms supplies if Israeli forces proceed with an offensive on the southern Gaza city of Rafah. In a televised statement, the Israeli Prime Minister says that his country will fight by its fingernails if necessary. US President Joe Biden has repeatedly warned against the operation, saying it would cross a red line. But Netanyahu dismissed the US warning. Israeli and Hamas delegations walked out of ceasefire talks in Cairo. It was unclear whether the talks had collapsed or simply paused. Hamas said early on Friday that the ball is now completely in Israel's hands. Israel, on the other hand, said that Hamas's version of a deal fell far short of its demands. More than 110,000 people have already fled Rafah after the Israeli military launched what it described as a limited operation on Monday. On Friday, Israeli tanks have reportedly captured the main road dividing the eastern and western halves of Rafah, effectively encircling the entire eastern side of the city in the southern Gaza Strip. Australia says it will hold a parliamentary inquiry to look into the negative impact of social media platforms. The government has criticised their parent companies for not being quick enough to remove violent posts and is seeking more oversight of content uploaded to Facebook, TikTok and X.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's administration said it was still determining the terms and scope of the inquiry. It also did not specify who it would call to testify. The Joint Parliamentary Select Committee would also investigate Meta's decision to stop paying for news in Australia. The Labour government is already locked in a legal battle with Elon Musk's X over a regulatory order requiring the platform to take down videos of the stabbing of a church bishop in Sydney last month. X said it had blocked the post for Australian users, but the country's e-safety commissioner called for the content to be removed entirely as it showed explicit violence.
The Malaysian government will introduce the basics of artificial intelligence to primary school students via a new subject called Technology and Digital. This will begin in 2027. Now, how can AI education be effectively integrated to enhance learning outcomes for early childhood? Dr. Sia Chin Chin from Taylor's University shares her thoughts.
For lower primary children, we know that their brain development is more likely to attribute human qualities to artificial intelligent technologies, such those smart speakers, chatbots. They can also trust AI without thinking what is the working behind them. And so it's harder for them to distinguish advertisements from the content that they see in AI. So at this stage, it's important to teach young children. It's important to see how the reality is, and AI-created contents can be embedded in ads and may not be real. And teachers have to actually reinforce this particular understanding of realizing advertisement content generated by AI for younger children. Whereas for the upper primary children, the focus should shift on the developing of the problem-solving skills. And throughout the curriculum for upper primary, they should have opportunities to reflect on their own thinking and expectation of technology can actually think. And teachers, most importantly, need to start helping students to solidify their thinking about what robots and AI technologies by identifying some of the existing examples in their daily environment. Then the classes need to develop the children's intuition about how technology works through powerful metaphors in the form of hands-on activities.
Dr. Xia also highlighted the importance of having adequate infrastructure and training for AI education to be successful.
It's very essential that we deliver curriculum, but at the same time, we need to ensure the infrastructure in terms of IT, software, and secure digital records keeping are in place. We know that there is a digital gap between the infrastructure in the rural school and the urban school, and as such, this particular point has to be addressed to ensure equality of education. And we know also our government will be introducing in 3 years' time, and it's a lot of work to be done, especially for the training of teachers and instructors, so that they actually empowered to teach students based on the latest curriculum, so that they are better prepared and they are able to address some of the learning needs of our students. We know that AI technology is wonderful, but however, there are too many risks and hazards that are associated with them, and hence regulation and education will work hand in hand in order to solve this particular issue on hazards and risk.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching. Good night.